Monday, that can only mean one thing. It's time for me, Scotty, and that's Motty, dressed in green and gold. Love it. That wasn't even rehearsed, was it?
Oh, yeah. Nicely done, brother.
Well, I know you always wear green.
I do always wear green on a Monday, don't I?
Yeah.
It's weird that I always have like this outfit on a Monday.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just like it's become like my uniform for this channel. I put this stuff on. Right. Do you know what I mean? I need to take a look at that. It might be a bit OCD.
Right, we've not brought you on here to watch or listen to why Jay wears green every single Monday. And we're not going to concentrate on last season because it's over. Yes, we've got the FA Cup ahead. And yes, we finished 8th. And yes, it was an absolute... Is it gone 30 seconds?
Yeah, it has.
It was a poo show, what it was. It was an absolute poo show. And we finished 8th. So, we're asking you, who should Manchester United get rid of? It's probably easier to say, who should we keep? But before we get into that, I want you to take one of your fingers and press subscribe if you aren't doing already. We've got nearly 10,000 on our last video, which is brilliant, but the subs don't match it. So don't cost you anything. Helps us out a load if you could subscribe to Scotty and Motty. Jay, where do you want to start? Who are we keeping? Who are we getting rid of? First name that comes to your mind when you think?
I think we can talk about some that we know we're getting rid of, can't we?
Yeah.
Let's go through that first. And do get involved in the chat and the comments. We know that Raphael Varane is going. He's announced it. It's official. He will be leaving after the FA Cup final. That will be his last game for Manchester United if he even plays for Manchester United Football Club. So he's gone. Antony and Martial is another one. He ain't getting his contract renewed. He's done after the FA Cup final. So there's two that you can add into the definitely gone columns. Bit of a shame, really, with both of them for different reasons. Varane, the announcement of the signing, ahead of the Leeds game, I thought it was fantastic. Coming on the pitch, we won 5-1. A brilliant day. It was the crowd was back there for Pats at Old Trafford for the first time we'd had a Pats at Old Trafford since before COVID. It was phenomenal. Didn't quite live up to the expectation. Injuries ravaged his time at the club. Still a quality defender. Seems like a nice guy as well. Always gets the crowd going and has won the lot. Just unfortunately, he's not won a lot at Manchester United.
No, I mean, I think great shame is probably how it'll be looked back on Varane's time at Manchester United, because he was, as to the cliche, Rolls Royce of a footballer, very calm on the ball and came with such a great pedigree from Real Madrid. But Real Madrid don't sell players for no reason, and I'm not going to say we signed a dud with him, but we should have checked out what was under the bonnet and the MOT history before we signed Raphael Varane.
No, we don't kick the tires enough, do we?
No,
some of the players.
And that seems to be a hell of a lot. But in terms of his personality and how he conducted himself as a Manchester United player, I think I'd probably file him alongside the likes of Schweinsteiger, who was a player who I really wanted and was really excited that he was coming to Manchester United. Again, was hampered by injuries.
He was, but we always had that performance against Liverpool at Old Trafford for Schweinsteiger. Yeah. I'll never forget that. Talking about performance against Liverpool by Schweinsteiger, that was the debut of a certain Antony Martial. Different opinions with him for different reasons. There was a time when he burst onto the scene when we got him. He looked like he was going to be the real deal. We loved chanting his name and 50 million down the drain. Tony Martial scores again, all that stuff. Obviously, when he helps us get into the FA Cup final with that late goal against Everton in the semi-final, then after he had a little bit of a lull, he came back rejuvenated under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, playing down the middle, banging in 23 goals in a season. It looked great, but the last 3 seasons have been underwhelming, to say the least.
Well, one of them wasn't even a United shirt.
It was at Sevilla, wasn't it?
So I think Martial's days should have been numbered when he went out on loan and didn't do anything when he was over in Spain. Had a hell of a lot of promise, and we saw glimpses of it. He had a couple of good seasons where what did he get? What was his highest ever season?
I think it was under Ole. I think he got 23 goals. I'll go through the stats now for you.
Which is a good return. I think the thing with Antony Martial, a lot of people in the press, where that song came from, were writing him off before he'd even got started, because everyone in the papers was saying, oh, well, why we spent so much money, and there was like a lot of add-ons, wasn't there, that came with Antony Martial?
4 seasons ago, he's sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. 2019 to 2020 was when he got 23 goals in all competitions. The following season, he got 7 in all competitions. The following season after that, he got 1 in all competitions. The following season after that, he got 9 in all competitions. This season, he's got 2 in all competitions. And when he went out on loan to Sevilla, he got 1 in 12 games. Just he just fell off a cliff in 2020. He did. It's just injuries. Caught with him. Maybe lost a little bit of pace. Maybe lost a little bit of edge. Could never get a run in the team because of injury. There's always question marks about whether he really loves football, whether he really has the sort of the determination you need to be at the very, very top. And I don't think he was helped by being kept around at a club where he was in and out of the team. He should have been moved on at the very, very latest when Erik Ten Hag came in.
Yeah, I think so. He's just disappointing, I probably had to say about amongst him. He's still only 28.
Listen, Antony Martial, he's 28 years old. He's got, if I'm looking here, he's got over 114 goals, also not over, 114 goals in his career. He's got 30 French caps. I mean, admittedly, the last one was 3 years ago. He's only got a couple of goals. But there's every reason to believe that Antony Martial could go and have a decent end to his career somewhere else if he can stay fit. I think there's a player there, just not Manchester United.
No,
he's got to go. I'll go through some of the comments, then we'll carry on. Matty Yates, evening lads. Aki says, have I missed a live? Always late. Paul Makin says 2 tap-ins. Mick Olahan says Antony, Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka. Jonathan Mine says my favourite Manc duo after Matt and Morrissey. Matty H says like the video people. Yeah, please hit the like button. Colin Wilmot says is Johnny Evans staying then? I don't know actually. We can get into that in a minute. Also, someone, and I've lost who it was, said it was their birthday. Lee Binion said, it's my birthday today. The best present I got was the Premier League season being over. Yeah, good shout.
Happy birthday.
Also good to see Brian Casey in the chat as well, and Manchester Maverick. And Jace Parker. Johnny Evans, I'll ask you about him. 37, I think he is now. Would you keep him around for another season, or do you think we need to stop doing that kind of thing?
I mean,
he's 36. Sorry, he's 36.
I was gobsmacked when he returned, but then he obviously had that worldie of a game against. Was it Burnley? Was his first
very
game
good game.
When
very
he returned.
Good sort of return debut in the Premier League.
I think he read a report today that he's been playing with an injury all this season, and
Jesus Christ.
Isn't massively surprising, but just sort of shows the stature of the man that he's willing to push himself through it, because he must be living his dreams again. Because I can't think he had the idea that he might be putting on a Manchester United shirt. Do I think we should keep him? I do, on the basis that we are going to be thin on the ground at centre-backs, because we'll get onto him soon, but I imagine one of Lindelof or Maguire, possibly both, could find themselves out the door. I'll have Johnny Evans as a backup, and also an older head around the park, but no way, no should we be setting up any game next season. He should be off the bench, or if we are really badly injured. But I'd keep him, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think everything you said is spot on. He's a good player, good character to have around the club. Obviously, 36 years old, had injury problems himself this season. Time is catching up with him, to be honest with you. He's at that point where almost no players play to. Very, very rarely you get a player playing when he's 37 in the Premier League. It does happen. Thiago Silva's just left at 39, but it's very rare indeed. But I'd keep Johnny Evans for another season purely as well, because he's not going to cause a fuss, and he's an option that you can sort of say, okay, you know what, bit of Carabao, or we're a bit short defenders, or we need to give someone a breather, bring Johnny Evans for the last 10 minutes, or give Johnny Evans a game against one of the lesser clubs.
Even if Johnny Evans doesn't play for Manchester United next season, just like we have an option there, isn't the worst thing. He's not going to, like I said, he's not going to kick up a fuss at all.
Right, let's have a look who else is on this list. I mean, someone said there, Lee Binion, who I wished happy birthday, says, Scotty, thanks for the happy birthday. It was me that said it. Should have said I'm from Sunderland before letting you wish me happy birthday.
Take that back.
Yes. We'll get into this. We'll answer this question. Aki's asked the question and we need to discuss it. Controversial for next season. Would you have Greenwood back and sell Rashford? So there's two sides to that story.
Whoa.
Would you have Greenwood back?
No, I just don't see that there's any way, shape or form that he comes back to Old Trafford, and my own personal views is that I don't want him back at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. Listen, I think it's untenable. I think they tried to do it, they saw the reaction, the statements they put out were awful, and it's a shame, because I think Mason Greenwood was one of those players that, and I've watched a lot of academy football, that everyone was talking about as being better than the other academy graduates we've seen, as being better than the likes of Marcus Rashford and one or two others who broke into the first team. Said Greenwood, his numbers are ridiculous, but we know why he's not at Manchester United. We know why he's on loan at Getafe. He'd never be at Getafe at the age of 22 if it wasn't for what had happened off the pitch. United tried to bring him back. The press got hold of it. Adam Crafton, who we had on the Stretford Paddock channel, explained about how they sourced it, they got the stories, they got it stood up. We saw the reaction from everyone, and sort of a lot of the staff weren't happy, a lot of fans weren't happy, hence he goes on loan to Getafe. I don't think he was helped by the statements the club put out. They were pretty pathetic, in all honesty. But I think the best thing for Mason Greenwood to do and for Manchester United is to move on, and I don't think bringing him back helps us move on. He's done well at Getafe, he has, and I think he's a player. I think United have got to be honest about this. I think we've got to admit that Mason Greenwood, I think anyway, is going to smash it and have lots of goals. Score lots of goals, sorry. I think he will have a season where he scores 30 goals. I think he will. Yeah. I think he's getting back into his sort of rhythm, and he's putting on a bit of weight, and I think he's getting there. And I think when he's 24, 25, 26, whatever, he could have that season where everyone's going, why did we let Greenwood go? You just got to stomach that. Accept it. He's a very good player. He's going to score loads of goals. He's just not going to do it at Manchester United. And you just got to move on.
Can I ask a question on this? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but it's just put it out there. He's not going to play for Manchester United again. I think we both agree on that. It might happen, but I don't think both of us think it. But it's on moral reasons, isn't it? Not his ability. We agree on that.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's on moral reasons. Right, okay. So there's going to be a situation in the summer where Manchester United, how much do you reckon you get for him?
40 mil.
Right, so we're going to sell him for 40 mil. Where does that money go? Because then if you're making money on someone whose morals you don't agree with, is that not bad taste?
There's
the
complicated thing with Mason Greenwood here is, I understand your point.
Just a question.
Should you be taking profit off someone you think he morally you shouldn't have him at your club, but we're happy to take 40 million quid for him?
Yeah.
Now, and I'm not agreeing with this. I'm saying there's a flip side to that argument in the sense that they've invested money in him. He's a player that they could keep. They're choosing to sell him. He's their asset, for want of a better word, so they can do what they want.
They've invested
money. They've invested time. They've invested energy. They've gone through all this stuff with him as well to try and keep him going. It's obviously not worked out at Manchester United. They can do what they want, and whether you agree with that or not, I think that's what'll happen. Also, as well, the weird thing is with Mason Greenwood, I think United have tried to have their cake and eat it, because you look at them statements. I keep going on about them statements because I cannot believe what I was reading in some of those statements, especially the Mason Greenwood one and the Richard Arnold one. I think there was one from the club, one from Arnold, one from Greenwood. Terrible. Some of the references and the bullet points part, I think it was in the Arnold statement, was just beyond belief. I could not understand for the life of me how that had been signed off by someone in United's legal department. It was just completely flawed. And that went out. And I was like, what are you doing here? This is just almost reprehensible to put that out there. So I don't think it's been handled very well by the club. I think you're in a situation now where he needs to move on and United needs to move on. I do. And I get there's the moral question, but I think United, going back to what I was saying about having their cake and eating it, United tried to sort of say, well, he's not done anything wrong, but... Yeah. That was the nature of those statements. If you knew what had gone on, you'd know that he's not done anything wrong. We don't think he's done anything wrong, but we think it's best he moves on. Contradictory, to say the least, because if you don't feel he's done anything wrong whatsoever, you'd have him back at the club because he's a very, very good footballer. So I thought that was nonsensical.
I would like to see if there is any sort of financial recuperation from Manchester United, so some of that money to be invested in like charities or something like that.
Maybe. I don't see it happening, I'll be honest with you. I don't, even with INEOS and the new thing. It was interesting that Sir Jim Ratcliffe didn't say what he was going to do one way or the other. He just said, he mentioned Manchester United's values. You don't really hear that, do you, when you're talking about a player's future? If you're talking about where you're going to get rid of Marcus Rashford, I don't think you'd be saying, well, you have to look at the values of the club. What does that mean? But we knew what it meant with Mason Greenwood. And it's just, obviously, if I can just allow me to look at it from a football point of view, and it's difficult not to look at it from everything else that's gone on because it isn't just about football, but from a football point of view, and I'm only talking from a football point of view here, very, very disappointing because he's such a good player. But we know why he's no longer at Manchester United, and I don't think he'll be at Manchester United past the summer, to be honest with you. The talk of Napoli and Juventus being interested in him, also Atletico Madrid. I don't think Getafe can afford to keep him, although they would if they could. Also, Manchester United will have to make a decision, because if they do keep him, if we send him out on loan again, then do you activate his year extension the following summer, or do you let him go on a free the following summer?
And then that does look
that gives you a real dilemma there.
Yeah, that would be a real bad taste.
The club needs to make a decision.
That's just like keeping a fish on the line, isn't it? Just to see.
They did that anyway with his loan to Getafe. They just kicked the problem
down they knew they were selling, so
they didn't address the situation whatsoever. That's my take on Mason Greenwood. Let's talk about someone it's less clear what's going to happen with this player now. About should we say 13 months ago, if you'd have suggested he was leaving United, the following summer I'd have said you were insane. But Casemiro, he's gone from, oh my God, I can't believe how good he is, to, at times, I can't believe how bad he's been.
Yeah.
It's sad to see. Do you have any hope that we're not seeing the decline of Casemiro, we're just seeing a blip in an otherwise very talented player's career, and he will return to the player we saw that was dominating the game against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup?
Yeah, we had this conversation on the Newcastle watch along just before it, and we were saying like, can he get back to his best at Manchester United? I don't think any of us thought he could. And then Newcastle, I think against Brighton, he had a pretty decent game, didn't he? As well at centre back. For me, Casemiro, very similar to the Varane situation. I think he's played more games for what we paid for him for United, and probably had more of a bigger impact on the pitch, particularly last season. Like he popped up with really important goals, didn't he, in the FA Cup? Carabao Cup final. But if I'm Casemiro and I'm his age and I'm seeing the pace of the football at Manchester United, and I think I might be able to go to Saudi Arabia, make a shed load of money, or stay in the northwest of England, make money, but fighting for a club that needs to go through such a big rebuild. And where do I fit in that? Because I don't think we build around Casemiro anymore. No. He will become more of a bit part player.
Yeah.
Whether that's down to his form, his ability, his fitness, or whatever. So, what's his motivation? I don't see any motivation for a player of Casemiro. He's come to Manchester United. Again, he's had an injury record. His forms fell off, particularly this season. Gave it a shot. Didn't work out. Got some good memories. I don't see why he'd want to stay at Manchester United when there will be other offers on the table for him. And Manchester United probably would need to capitalise on it as well, if we can make money now.
Yeah, I agree. It's sad to see with Casemiro. Obviously, one of the best DMs arguably ever at one point. You know what I mean? Looking at his career, what he's won, all those Champions Leagues, it's not coincidence. You know, it's not that easy. Just stick anyone next to Luka Modric and Toni Kroos and anyone could do that job. No, they can't. He had to do, you know what I mean? He's got a role that he filled in that team, and he filled it extremely well. You have to give him his credit for that. And you can see, you saw glimpses of it at United, how good he can be. But I feel like we're watching the decline of someone. I don't feel this is a blip. He's 32 years old. He looks to have lost a little bit of pace, and he couldn't afford to lose it. And also, there's question marks about how much he's up for it. You look at the Arsenal game, he's basic. Yeah. You know, come on, clear lines, get out of defence, and he just walks. That's not a player whose heart's in it for me.
It's like when I mean, we've all had jobs where you hand your notice in, but you've got to do a 30-day period. Mate, I'm turning up late every single day. I'm leaving the door before 5:30.
It's me and you at one selling it.
Yeah. I'm taking 3-hour lunches because I've already signed off. I have. And like I said, the state of Manchester United this season, I couldn't blame him to a massive, to an extent because of where he's been and what he's achieved in his career. But yeah, it's time for him to go off and chill out in either the Saudi Arabia League or wherever he chooses. But Manchester United, sell Casemiro, bye-bye, thank you very much. Graham Souness, the first season of Casemiro, both me and you were like, shut up, Souness. Evidently, there's a player there. This season, it feels like, not to say Graham Souness is correct, because I would never say that, but there's more evidence that he's the water carrier or player that Souness made out he was going to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Proving Graham Souness right is the worst thing anyone has ever done.
Well, to make amends for that, press like, press subscribe. We're not going to carry on talking until you do.
Right, okay.
The light's gone up?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Let's talk about...
Can we just talk about Ethan showing his legs?
Oh, Ethan... James doing a little striptease here.
We can just see his legs. Bottle legs underneath the screen.
There's now wrong with them legs. Do you know what I love about him? Me and him was away for the tour, and he stays pretty much the same colour throughout the summer as well. Yeah, bless him. Ethan's legs have just thrown me, by the way. I can't even concentrate now. I'll keep thinking about it.
Marcus Rashford. Is that, we're talking about 30 months ago, could we imagine selling Casemiro? Well, you could put Marcus Rashford alongside that because of the season he had last year, greatest goal scoring season he's had, and then followed it up with an absolute dud. Terrible season for Marcus Rashford. What's it down to? Is it his fitness? Is it his want to play for Manchester United anymore? Is it anything to do with Erik ten Hag? Is it the arrival of Højlund? A lot of question marks as to why his form on the pitch, but also his behaviour off it as well has been a little bit questionable.
Yeah, it has. I'll be honest with you. And I know a lot of people have sort of turned against Marcus Rashford and they see him leaving and they're happy for him to go. But I'd be surprised if he left, because I look at it, right, and I think, yes, I agree he's had a bad season. He has. You can't deny it. I think he's at 8 goals in 42 games in all competitions. Issues off the pitch, we know about that. Doesn't seem happy. Doesn't seem himself. Has probably played his way out of the Euros as well. So it's not like I'm sitting here going, it's unfathomable that Marcus Rashford could leave Manchester United. But I think there's a scenario where you've got, for me anyway, and by all means get involved in the chat in the comments, Mason Greenwood, Antony, Martial, maybe Palestre, Sancho. You've got those 5 players for me that are either going to leave or have already announced the left. Do you sell a 6th attacker as well? That is the question for me. I think selling 6 attackers in the summer is a bit of a stretch. I don't see it happening.
I'll counter that.
Yep.
What is the combined goals of them 6 attackers this season?
This season, well, Marcus, I think, has got 8.
Anthony's got 1.
Anthony's got 1. Sancho's got none.
9. Go on.
Mason Greenwood's got none. Obviously, he's not played for us. Palestre, I don't think has scored for us this season. Martial, I think, as we said, did we say he's got 2? He's got 2.
Right, okay, so that's 11 goals across 6 players whose main attribute for a football team is to score goals. I think Marcus Rashford, what he's done at Manchester United, he's been up and down his career and he was phenomenal last year. I don't know if his heart's completely in it. I know that he did the piece, didn't he, not long ago when he was talking about how much sort of abuse he's been getting online, and he said, well, when you doubt me, I'll prove you wrong or whatever. If we were to sell him, I don't think it'd be that difficult to replace. It would be difficult to replace the player last year. Yeah. Right? But I'm not wholly convinced that next year we're going to get the player of 2 seasons ago.
Right.
I just don't see it. We're going through a huge transition. Our number 9, as it stands at the moment, is going to be Højlund, or we're going to be bringing another attacker. I don't think Marcus Rashford's a great left winger. Højlund's a centre forward who thrives on crosses into the box. I think Garnacho's played better down the left than Rashford has this season. So it depends on what way we move forward. If we're looking for cash and we're strapped for it, I'd sell all 6 of them and just invest it across the pitch with goal scorers from different positions. And I think that's been Manchester United's problem this season. We've been trying to look through one outlet for the goals rather than it being distributed equally through midfield. So what would you get for them 6 players?
I don't know. See, that is one of the reasons why I think we'll keep Marcus,
as an option.
Because, all right, 11 goals between them. He's got 8 of those goals, which is the lion's share, if being honest, yeah?
The lion's share of 11.
It is, though. It is. And it's 8 goals across the season.
3 of them players haven't played for Manchester United this season, to be fair.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
We've spent 240 million on right wingers, and none of them have been any good. Now, you're saying we'll sell Marcus and replace him with someone who's better. And we might do. But the evidence over the last 7 wingers we've bought says otherwise.
Well, why do we need another winger when you've got, just listen to me, Ahmad on the right, Garnacho on the left.
Ahmad's a good player.
Yeah, Ahmad on the right, Garnacho on the left, and Højlund or an alternative strikers up front. Why do we need...
Right,
why doesn't Rashford fit in that?
Well, you need someone else because you can't rely on...
Are we not going to buy another striker anyway?
Yeah, but you're saying, we'd probably... If we sell Marcus, we've got to replace him. We're going
to buy a strike. We have to.
But you have to buy someone on the left as well. You can't rely on, for me, Amad Diallo and Garnacho as your only 2 wingers.
No, probably
So you'd
not.
need 2 more wingers.
Right, okay.
And if you sold Marcus Rashford and you've sold Mason Greenwood and you've sold Jadon Sancho and you've sold Palestre and you've sold Antony, then you're going to need to buy 2 more wingers.
So I would buy wingers to come up behind them.
to come up behind
so wingers that are going to develop, rather than go out and splash a shed load of money on whoever the brightest thing is across Europe that's going to cost 80 million. I buy like the potential to come up and play.
I agree what you said, right?
And I get that. The Rashford money is distributed elsewhere.
And we've done that. We did it with Diallo. We did it with Palestra. Those are the up and coming youngsters. And it took a few years. I think it might be the same again. Also, I think with Rashford, everyone's like, sell Rashford. All right, fine. He's on like 350k a week, so you're going to have difficulty getting rid of him. If you don't want to go, if he says, no, I'm going to stay, I don't think you're getting rid of him. I don't think because it's not like we're the only ones who've noticed Marcus Rashford's had 2 bad seasons out of the last 3. Any club with a scouting department will look at Marcus Rashford and go, okay, he's got 8 goals this season. Last season he had a worldie, 30 goals. Season before that he got 4 or 5, right? He's had these off-the-field issues. He looks like he's lost the will to play football. Are we going to spend 50, 60, 70 million on him or whatever? I don't know, man.
I don't. But there are clubs out there with a lot of money that have just lost. But like PSG, for example, they've lost Mbappe. It isn't going to cost that much money.
I knew he was going to say PSG. Everyone keeps saying this PSG thing, right? And all the reporters that you kind of trust on that are saying that ain't happening.
They wouldn't touch him.
Nah, like there's it. I know PSG. When Tuchel was there, they loved him. He's been linked with PSG, and everyone keeps saying it and going, you know what? Mbappe's leaving PSG.
Right.
Marcus is the man to take over. But I think PSG don't want him.
So why should Manchester United have him? This is my issue. Why should Manchester United have a player that the best clubs around Europe don't want, but we have to have him?
Because we gave him a deal last year and he signed it.
Right, so it's purely on. So you're saying we should keep him purely on the basis that
you can't. If he doesn't want to leave, you can't leave him.
No, what I'm saying is,
legally you can't.
If you could get rid of him, then we've got a striker on the books that nobody else in Europe would have as a
not for the money he's on and for the money I think it'd take, because United aren't going to sell him for nothing. They're going to go, if we do get rid of him, we want, I don't know, I'm guessing at least 50 million, if not more, for a player that's been at the club since he was a kid, that even despite all these faults has still scored over 130 goals, has a very good record against big teams in big games as well. They're going to go, look, we want at least, look at what other players are going for. We want at least 50, 60 million for a minimum, if not a little bit more. Plus, you've got to take over his wages. And I just don't see it happening. I'll be honest with you. I think that, I think the club are going to look at it and go, we need to get, there's certain players that are leaving 100%. We're going to have to replace them. B, there's no guarantee that we're going to get a like-for-like replacement for Marcus, so we're going to have to look at that as well. And also, if he don't want to go, because there's no indication, really, that, I know that he looks a bit like he can't be, he's absolutely, but I've not seen anything that sort of suggests to me, anyway, and you by all means, get involved in the chat in the comments, let me know if I'm wrong, where you get the idea he's looking to get out of here. I think it feels to me more like he's fell out of love of football rather than United. I don't know. I might be wrong.
Surely that's got to be one of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's first things, isn't it? If he wants to keep Marcus Rashford, then he needs to sit down and ask him what is the reason that he feels his form hasn't been what it was the previous season. Because something's happened off the pitch, or whether it's a fallout with Ten Hag. And I'm just speculating here. I'm not saying that it's definitely happened. But to go for, I just can't remember a striker in modern times that's gone from being that prolific to that bad in the following season without an injury that's caused it. I just don't know where that's come from, and I like, everybody needs to know what his ambition is or what the reason is behind him sort of failing this season. Make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're liking. Thank you everybody who's watching.
We just spoke about one who did exactly the same thing.
Antony Martial got injured.
But like the second game, if you look at his numbers, he went from 48 games, 23 goals, 36 games, 7 goals. There's something about this club, there is, and I don't know what it is, but, and you're right, like obviously injuries played the part, but we see it time and time again with players at this club where we think they've had a great season, and I think a big part of it is we give these massive deals for purple patches. I've been saying it, everyone goes on at the comments on Stretford Paddock saying, I always use the term purple patch. We do it all the time. Marcus Rashford had a purple patch, right, where he scored something like 12 goals in 10 games. That was what got him that 350k a week deal. It wasn't the 30 goals over the season, because if you actually look at the season, he tailed off towards the end. I think he scored 3 in his last 10 games. Or no, last 12, I think it was. He had this do you remember when he broke?
Yeah.
Was it
after the World Cup?
Yeah, like Dennis Violet's record at the for home game scoring, and we get him on a deal, throw him on a big money deal, and then we're sat here now going, if he doesn't want to go, we ain't going to be able to get rid of him because we've just given him a big deal. It's crackers, man. INEOS have got to get their head around this because you can't keep doing that. You can't keep just throwing big money at players who've had a purple patch. We did it with Matic when he was 31. He came into the side. Remember, we was playing City in the Carabao Cup semi-final. He came on. He played really well. We were 3-1 down, and he helped weather the storm. And he stayed at 3-1, and we won 1-0 away to just save some face. We still went out, obviously, and he had a really good spell for 3 months. And then we gave him a 3-year deal. Yeah,
there needs to be a lot more consistency than just like 2 months worth of football before you sort of get rewarded.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I get your point, and I'm not saying you're wrong. You're not, but I'm just saying I think they'll struggle. I think they'll struggle unless someone does go. You never know. Someone might go, look, we've seen enough of him to think we can get the best out of him again. Yep. We'll give you 60 million and pay that wage to bring him to, I don't know, Juve or whatever. I'm just pulling I'm not saying he's got a Juve. I'm just pulling a random club out me.
They would not be able to afford them wages. Right, from left wing to left back, Luke Shaw, man who's played 50% of the games, I think you were saying this.
Yeah, if you look at Luke Shaw, it's a good shout out, bro, because on the surface you think Luke Shaw, don't talk rubbish. He's not going anywhere. He's 28, so he's still, relatively young. This season, he's played 15 games. Last season was his best season in a long time. He played 47. The season before that, he played 27. This is in all comps. The season before that, he played 47. The season before that, he played 33. Now, if you look at it and you sort of dissect it over, I think, the last 5 seasons, he's missed around 50% of the games.
Yeah, and look how many Premier League games as well is part of that.
Yeah, I mean, Premier League games, if I do the last 5 seasons, 12, 31, 20, 32, 24. Big chunks of the season there. Do you know what I mean? 21 to 22, he missed nearly half the games. 19 to 20, he missed a third of the season. And this season, he's missed over half the season. Even last season, which was a good season for him, he missed 7 Premier League games. Which for a left-back, I'm always a bit wary of defenders when they're out for big chunks of the season because I think it's one thing when you're an attacker and you're a winger or whatever, it happens, you're getting kicked and plus you usually rotate a little bit anyway. Left-back should be the same left-back every game.
Yeah, and I think
as well, rotate your left back.
Well, one of the areas where we've been getting attacked most this season has been coming down the left, hasn't it? Because we've not had we've had Delo there, Wan-Bissaka, Reguilon for a while, and I think we just can't be relying on somebody who is injury prone, and that's what Luke Shaw will be remembered for. And he did get a horrific injury early on in his career. Was it Van Gaal who was a manager when
that one against, was it PSV?
Yeah, and it was a horrific injury, and I don't think we were expecting him to come back. I think Luke Shaw on his day is the best left back in the country. I really do.
Completely agree.
I think his work rate going forward and working with a left winger, great cross. I just don't see it enough, and I just don't think we can rely on it. But again, with a lot of these players, the ones who aren't leaving on a free, who buys that player?
No,
who buys Luke Shaw?
The thing that teams look at, and rightly so, but they'll always look at, is injuries. They're going, okay, big investment in terms of wages, transfer fee, whatever. What's his availability like? As Ronaldo Brown always says, the best ability is availability. And he's right. Like, if you're looking at a player that's missed 50% of his games there or thereabouts over the last 5 years, he's 28 years old. Are you going to think he's worth taking a punt on if you're going to have to give him big money and probably pay decent money to get him as well? Trolley Tramp says his leg break ruined his career, never the same after. I disagree. I don't think it did. I think he came back and it took him a while to come back to the levels he was, but I think he got back to them levels. I think maybe it's tied to injuries. I don't know. Santa Notch in the chat says, when I think of purple patch, my mind always drifts back to Fallen. Yeah, he had the ultimate purple patch, didn't he? We'll do one or two others before we wrap up.
Yeah, of course,
Antony.
Yeah, sell him. We should never have bought him, and we should never have paid over the odds if we were going to intend on buying him, whether that's down to Ten Hag's fault or the Glazers or whoever was it Murtaugh who was in charge when he was
I think it was John Mercy, you're right.
Arguably one of the most overrated Manchester United players of all time.
I don't like just digging out Antony all the time because he gets a lot of stick, and I tend, because we cover a lot of games at United, and obviously on Paddock I'm talking about him a lot and I'm criticising him a lot. I just don't think he's good enough, and I think pound for pound he's a contender for being one of our worst ever signings, if not our worst.
I don't think it's his fault, because like if he gets the phone call and he's at Ajax, and Ten Hag,
it's not his fault. You're right.
Dutch accent, like he's always going to take that job. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, you're right.
Are you joking? What, I can play right wing for Manchester United at Old Trafford in the Premier League? What?
Do you know what?
He's on that flight, man. You know.
Do you know what annoys me about that as well? It's not even a fee. That's one thing. That's annoying. We gave him a 1,000% pay rise or something. He went from 25k or slightly less, 25k a week to 200k a week. Why?
He was taking, but nobody else in Europe was after him.
No. So you go, we'll give you 75k a week. You've just tripled his wages. Do you think he wasn't going to come for that?
I know.
No, you're going to triple my wages? Nah, forget that. And plus give me probably a £10 million signing on fee after I've just scored, what was it, 8 goals? Was it 8 goals and 4 assists in his last season? Hardly setting the world alight. He got the dream move. Now, I don't blame him or his agent for getting that move. I blame the club. It was a ridiculous decision. Another one.
Make sure you're liking. There's only 59 likes.
Yeah, come on.
We're giving up our Monday. Do you know what's on a Monday? What's on a Monday?
It's only Connect's not on anymore. His University Challenge isn't on anymore. Monday's fallen off. Jadon Sancho.
Can I just say how vindicated I was? We sat in this room.
Go on.
Doing the preview of the season.
Yep.
And you said, who do you think is going to be the surprise of the season?
Yep.
And I said, I think the surprise of the season will be Jadon Sancho. And now look at him. He's going to be in Wembley in the Champions League final. Nobody got it right like Scotty. You're surprised. He's surprised.
That is elite.
I'm surprised.
Predictioning. Yeah? No one predicted it. He did. He's right. He's literally the first Manchester United player since 2011 to be in a Champions League final.
Jadon.
That, do you know what I mean? And I think he did it for you, just to prove you right. United, right? I keep saying about this. I think we're doomed, Scotty. I think you look at any metric on any player, and no matter who they are and what they are, other than Bruno Fernandes, it goes wrong, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't go wrong. You look at Jadon Sancho and you go, right, look at his numbers that last season in Dortmund before we signed him. Lionel Messi numbers, bro. Something like 36 goal involvements in 39 games. Literally dragged them into the Champions League qualification, helped them win a trophy. And Dortmund don't win a lot of trophies. I think he scored twice in the German Cup final. Had an absolute worldie, right? He's English. He's played in England, so you're not going, well, he might not settle and all that sort of jazz. You know he can. He's an exciting, dynamic winger who's very quick with the ball at his feet. Yeah? I don't mean he's pacey in terms of bombing forward. He's got a bit of pace to him, but very quick with the work. If you think, yeah, he can fit into this system, he could be someone we can use. Yes, we've been chasing him for ages. Yes, we get him 73 million quid. Do you know what? I can live with that. For a 21-year-old who's been tearing it up. The whole of Europe's been watching him. You've got Haaland, you've got Bellingham, you've got Sancho. They're the 3 most talked about young players on the planet right now. Jude Bellingham's got to the Champions League final. Absolutely smashed it for Real Madrid. Erling Haaland has been back-to-back Golden Boot winner for his club and has just won his 2nd successive Premier League title. Jadon Sancho went back to Dortmund. It's like he was the only one out of that 3 that didn't do anything like everyone thought.
Maybe we're the problem.
That's what I mean.
Maybe,
it's mad.
But
I think we could sign a prime Lionel Messi, and somehow he wouldn't be any good for us.
Let's just step back a little bit. We talk about the culture and we talk about the environment at Manchester United, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Brailsford's been slagging off Carrington that it's not fit for purpose. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's been round the offices saying, what you're doing, leaving your Subway sandwiches there, we need to be scouting a new centre forward, and basically just tore the whole of Manchester United as a business to pieces, right? I think that what you see on the pitch and the performances of the players, or the behaviour of the players, it's just a knock-on effect from what we've had around it. So, is there, with the work that INEOS are doing, getting the likes of Wilcox in and Brailsford and Omar Barada in, that we bring back Sancho and we get the player that you were just saying was across the trinity of the whole, the upcoming prospects across Europe. Do we get the player that Marcus Rashford was last season if we get everything else sorted around? Is that a possibility? Because I think Sancho still has a future at Manchester United, and I know that'll piss so many people off, and I don't really care, I piss people off all the time, but I think Sancho is a phenomenally talented footballer. I just think with the right manager and the right environment, and I know that Ten Hag did him a solid and stuck by him when he sent him off to Holland and tried to get what was going through there, but I think with maybe a different sort of man management style, if we got that Sancho doing them numbers, who wouldn't take him back at Manchester United?
Do you know what?
Tweet.
I get your point. I do. And I wanted Sancho. I don't know if he's as elite in the Premier League as you want him to be. If you look at, it's not just his performances as well. There's a fitness issue there. Now, I don't know if that was him personally just not being fit enough, but ever since he's arrived at Old Trafford, he gets subbed a lot. When he was playing, he got subbed a lot. And you could see him physically losing it. Like, physically looking goosed after, 55, 60 minutes, almost every game. And I remember, saying there's a reason he keeps getting subbed off. It's not because his, performances have gone to the dogs. It doesn't look like he's physically coming in. I don't know if that's something he's not doing right and he put on a bit of timber or whatever, and maybe he can address that. But I don't know. I just wonder whether his style is more suited to
play on the continent.
Because even for England, that was a little bit of a red flag. A little bit of one. I don't sort of put much weight in international football, but it was one where you go, for the player that he is, he should have nailed down that England spot by now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Why hasn't it? And maybe you think, no, it's just because Gareth Southgate is a bit of a knobhead. But then you think, actually, if you watch Sancho for England, has he nailed it down himself? He had that one, I think it was Ukraine, was in the World Cup, or the Euro, where he played really well. But other than that, he's not really done much in an England shirt when he'd been given that opportunity. And you just think, I don't know, is he a player that, for him to perform, certain things have to be right, like the environment.
That's what I'm saying.
And I don't know if you can get that in the Premier League and at Manchester United. You might be able to, and listen, there's a good chance, if you could, and you get him back, he could do all those things you've mentioned. I don't think he's quite suited to and when I say not suited to the Premier League, I think he could play in the Premier League and he could get you 15 goals and assists, which isn't terrible. I just think if we're going to kick on to the levels we want with a player like that, you probably want a bit more of him, a bit more than that from him at United. I don't know. I'm happy.
Right, okay, so who would you rather have, Antony or Sancho? You've got to keep one next season.
Oh, you've got to keep one out of Antony or Sancho.
Who's got the better ceiling?
Oh, Sancho, 100%, 100%, and also, but you've chosen two players there who I think, and people can question other players' attitudes, and rightly so, but I think in terms of they're there, and I hate using the word attitude because I think it's got some real connotations that I'm not on board with. But if it's appropriate, it's appropriate. I think Sancho and Antony's attitude stunk.
Very similar.
I mean, I saw footage of Antony going berserk because he's been asked to play at left back. Bro, get on with it. Do you know what I mean? Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
I've seen much better players than you being asked to play in worse positions than left back for Manchester United.
You've got Casemiro playing centre back.
Yeah, and he's won the lot.
Like
You've been bang average at best for United. And you've got Eriksen and Scott McTominay having to drag him over to his position as he's kicking off about it. We saw it against Liverpool. It's the same thing. Rashford had to drag him over to that position. Just get on with it. Who do you think you are? What is wrong with you? Why are you acting like that? And he's whispering to Gabriel Jesus. Do you know what? I can't remember if we had any subs left, but if we had, we should have just took him off.
Yeah.
Because you don't just go whispering to your mate, obviously moaning about what the manager's just asked you to do. I hated that, and I didn't like the way Sancho went about his business as well. I've watched that footage of Erik tonight getting asked about Jadon Sancho, and I'll die on the hill. I don't think there's anything wrong with what he said.
One of the things we've spoke about is the players that we're bringing in and that. Do you think there's a personality, like a fracture, a bit disjointed in terms of how they all sort of work together? Because you do have these sort of, we look at the Johnny Evans sort of older heads, Fernandes, very leadership, but you do get the sort of attitude problems. Is that something that United needs to be looking more towards, like the personality as well as the sort of profile or ability? 100%.
100%, yeah. United should always be looking at the person. Fergie used to do it. He used to look at the person, not just the player.
Yeah.
Can they handle being in the limelight of Manchester United? Because it's always going to be amplified. Everything you're gonna look at, everything that happens to you is going to be sort of exaggerated and amplified like 100 times once you get to Manchester United. The expectation, it's a weird mix of United in that we underperform, but the expectation's still there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We haven't won out for we haven't won a league title since 2013, but we still expect to be challenging for the top honours. It's not easy playing for Manchester United. No one says it is, but obviously the rewards are great. So you have to look at that. And you look at someone like, people moan about Bruno's personality. He's got the personality to play for Manchester United. He's proven that. He has.
Doesn't like getting beat.
No.
Doesn't like anything going against him.
He could fit into a Fergie team. He could. But I think we've had too many players who just haven't had that mentality that you need. And I think other clubs do look at that. Other clubs, you look at the players that other clubs sign, the successful clubs. Look at someone like, I don't know, Rodri at City.
If you look at their midfield, isn't it?
Yeah, they all have the right mentality, winning mentality, get on with it, and also can take instructions without spitting a dummy out. Look at some of the players that Liverpool have signed. Van Dijk obviously stands out. Salah stands out. It's not just the very good players. They've got the right mentality. They have. Klopp always says that monster mentality. But they do very well. And I think at Manchester United, we've had too many players that have just flattered to deceive and maybe coming to United for the wrong reasons. Maybe not coming because they want to help move the club forward and they can achieve what they want to achieve, in terms of trophies and stuff. Maybe just coming because we throw a load of money at them. And maybe that's the reason some of these players that do need moving on have stuck around as well. I've put a link in the chat to our Patreon. Click on the link if you can. Sign up to our Patreon. We've got extra content going up there. Please join us on that Patreon and support this channel. We appreciate it. The production values have gone up a little bit, so it does help us keep doing what we love doing, and appreciate times are hard, but it's only a few quid as well. And a big thank you to everyone who has supported our patrons. Our Patreon as well. We're going to be back this week out with Agony Uncles.
We are Agony Uncles, solving all your problems. And there's one about porn categories, which was put us on the spot a little bit.
Yeah, it did, but me and him love talking about porn, so it was all good.
Yeah.
We also love talking about Manchester United, even though it has been a difficult time. Thank you to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. A lot of debate going on about Sancho and Antony and all that stuff. Hopefully we'll have some better conversations and some better topics.
This time next week we'll be the FA Cup champions of the world.
Yeah.
Of something.
What he said. That's been Scotty. I've been Motty. You've been Ace. Thanks for watching.